Tucker Carlson is proposing more surveillance in the classroom. You know, the guy that was just recently complaining about the NSA allegedly spying on him, he wants more surveillance, not for him, but he wants it in the classroom. And it's all because he is fear-mongering every day about critical race theory, something that kids don't even learn about in grade school. It's largely a graduate level curriculum. But Republicans don't want you to know that because squirrel, you gotta pay attention to a non-problem because conservatives have nothing to offer us. So let's hear a little bit of what Tucker Carlson has to say about surveillance in the classroom.
It's civilization ending poison, but it's everywhere. How widespread is it? Well, we can't really be sure until we finally get cameras in the classroom as we put them on the chests of police officers, until we finally get a civilian review board in every town in America to oversee the people teaching your children, forming their minds. And let's hope we get both of those very soon. But until we do, we can't know exactly how widespread this is, but there are indications. We know that these ideas, this poison, has made it all the way to expensive private schools in central Ohio.
Private schools in central Ohio. So private schools get to do what private schools get to do. They get to teach whatever curriculum they want. They could be a religious curriculum. Private schools are notorious for not having to follow any of the local guidelines or regulations pertaining to schools that are public, right? Public schools are regulated by local communities, by the state. They get funding sometimes federally, but most of it is regulated on a state level. Also, Tucker Carlson says no one can know. I mean, we need to surveil these teachers. No one can know what they're teaching your kids. I don't know, Tucker, you don't ever meet with your teachers? You never have a conversation, any PTA meetings? Because I remember my mom would talk to my teachers all the time. How's my daughter doing? What is she learning about? You know, I mean, where are the fathers, Tucker? Where are the fathers? But the fact of the matter is critical race theory is not an issue in grade schools. It's just not. For the most part, critical race theory is taught on a college level, a graduate level, but they don't want you to know that. They don't want you to know that because you gotta be scared, everyone. If you're a white Fox News viewer, you're very likely to believe that critical race theory is something that it's not. That the whole point of critical race theory is to automatically assume that all white people in America are racist and just inherently bad. That's the way they talk about critical race theory. Of course, that's not what the curriculum actually is. But let's just go back to what Tucker Carlson is proposing here. He's proposing surveillance in classrooms to make sure we hold these dangerous, very dangerous public school teachers accountable. You know, they're very bad, you know? They make like $40,000 a year, living large, you know? Oftentimes they have to spend their own hard-earned money to buy supplies for their students. They get abused through this rhetoric by the right wing nonstop, not just on this issue, but every issue. But no, we gotta surveil those dangerous teachers because they might be teaching something that they don't typically teach in grade school. And I'm too lazy to have a conversation with my children's teachers about what they're actually teaching my kids. And it's just hilarious to hear Tucker Carlson make these arguments when just the other week, he was making up crazy conspiracy theories about being spied on by the NSA. Let's watch.
Yesterday, we heard from a whistleblower within the US government who reached out to warn us that the NSA, the National Security Agency, is monitoring our electronic communications and is planning to leak them in an attempt to take the show off the air. Now, that's a shocking claim, and ordinarily we'd be skeptical of it. It's illegal for the NSA to spy on American citizens. It's a crime. It's not a third world country. Things like that should not happen in America.
So let's surveil powerless public school teachers. But the NSA is spying on me. We can't have that. We can't have that. Let me also just remind you all that Tucker Carlson was not friendly toward Edward Snowden when that massive story broke, back when Glenn Greenwald used to be a journalist, about the NSA indiscriminately spying on Americans. In fact, Tucker Carlson was critical of the Obama administration for not going after Edward Snowden as a person who had committed treason. During one speech, Obama had referred to Edward Snowden as a hacker, and Carlson felt that he was really minimizing the crime committed by Edward Snowden. Very bad man, treason. Whenever it comes to surveilling powerful people, whether it be Tucker Carlson or Dianne Feinstein, they're outraged. They don't want to be surveilled. But Tucker Carlson's calling for surveilling teachers because his cutesy little grift, his little culture war talking points call for it. Just go ahead and scare the American people about teachers. Encourage the surveillance of teachers for something that they're not even really teaching students. It's just so pathetic. It's so sad. And of course, look, when you look at states like Florida, where they just signed an anti-critical race theory bill, it's not just about critical race theory. It goes further than that. It's all about indoctrinating students with the garbage that the GOP wants to indoctrinate kids with. Let's give you an example. Here's Ron DeSantis from Florida.
The bill also expands our previous efforts in civics to add a requirement for the high school government class that students receive instruction on the evils of communism and totalitarian ideologies. We have a number of people in Florida, particularly southern Florida, who've escaped totalitarian regimes, who've escaped communist dictatorships to be able to come to America. We want all students to understand the difference. Why would somebody flee across shark-infested waters, say leaving from Cuba to come to southern Florida? Why would somebody leave a place like Vietnam? Why would people leave these countries and risk their life to be able to come here? It's important that students understand that. Now, as part of this bill, Florida will create a Portraits in Patriotism library so students can learn about real patriots who came to this country after seeing the horrors of these communist regimes.
Why did we need the US government to orchestrate coups in countries that had democratically elected socialist leaders? I mean, if socialism is so awful, why did we have to go in and destabilize Latin American countries by installing our own puppets in those countries? I mean, it's fascinating, right? Because I don't know, if I was a true believer in like the wonders of capitalism and I knew that socialism was bound to fail in these countries, I would just leave it alone, right? It's bound to fail. Why does the US government need to get involved to overthrow democratically elected leftist leaders? I don't know, just a point. But the reason why I show you that clip, other than the fact that it's related to the same narrative that we're hearing from Tucker Carlson, is the fact that this is all meant to install the types of talking points, right-wing talking points, indoctrinate students with fantasies about US history and fantasies about economic systems, things that they agree with, not things that are accurate, nothing based on evidence or historical context. They want to indoctrinate. They don't like any curriculum that makes them uncomfortable. And even if that uncomfortable curriculum isn't even being taught in grade schools, they're gonna pretend like it is because they have nothing to offer conservative voters. It's just the same fear-mongering, culture war nonsense. And then you have that added layer of the rhetoric meant to manufacture consent, to give away your civil liberties, to call for more surveillance. Surveillance of powerless people. We're talking about teachers, public school teachers, people who are underpaid, underappreciated, constantly attacked. Let's go ahead and surveil them. That's what Tucker Carlson wants. What a great populist. What a great populist, really a man of the people, isn't he? All these pathetic clowns running around pretending as if Tucker Carlson is like some wonderful socialist. Are you blind? What's wrong with you? Tucker Carlson is the same old Tucker Carlson, the same Tucker Carlson who was a cheerleader for everything we stood against during the Bush administration. Just because he's paying lip service to the economic anxieties that some people are experiencing in this country, most people are experiencing in this country, doesn't mean he's actually gonna do the right things to respond to it. I mean, homeboy is the heir of like a Swanson fortune, makes millions of dollars as a cable news host, created like his own perfect little bubble studio in Maine while the rest of the country was struggling with coronavirus, and also told people not to get vaccinated because it's dangerous. I mean, he's just loathsome. Tucker Carlson is loathsome. And if you're unable to see that he has nothing to offer and that he's the same person that he was back in the Bush administration, and if you're gonna buy this garbage about how he's, some populist who's actually looking out for the little guy, I mean, wake up, come on. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing when you see people who think they're leftists supporting the garbage coming from that show. Because there's nothing there, it's empty. All you need to do is just scratch the surface a little bit, and Tucker Carlson is the same garbage that we've known from years and years and years back. Tucker's gonna Tucker. Don't buy into hollow talking points and nonsense just because he invites you on his show. He's not looking out for the little guy, he's looking out for himself. And what he called for there in surveilling teachers while crying about allegedly being surveilled by the NSA, pathetic, pathetic. Anyone who buys that crap really needs to get their head checked.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.